Good evening from the hostage diaries. Tonight, I've got several things to discuss. Lots of them actually. So, poisoning the well seems to be well, you've got to put things into perspective. There's a whole skewed logic here. It's like when they take the universe, put it in this dome, create the world, climate control, rain reeks. That's me. Pretty smells. Jimmy John, JJ Water, freaky fast. Not me. Slow as molasses. Turtle. Shell. Reality bites Joe. The fury. It really is. The fury over reality. And revenge on me. And so then therefore, and then there's also rigged tricks to they're trying to pollute the stars. Mariners guide the ships by stars. And so you must have an accurate depiction of what is going on in certain realms of the world. And so then the celestial bodies, the celebrities, the producers, the stars, directors, they have their interpretation, usually driven by a deviant lifestyle, trying to justify their existence by pointing out other flaws in the society. That seems to happen a lot. The worse they are, it tends to be the more they look for things to point out. So, what happens then is that then you've got these patterns, and a lot of people don't want you to see the truth. They want to build a dome. I honestly think they've been building the Death Star is really the Earth surrounded in, if you think of it like a country being a planet. So the entire country is covered in a dome. Climate control, of course. Gas, you can control everything. The lighting, you can really doctor things up incredibly well with a climate control dome. And then control everything. And I think that's what's going on. In an attempt to, I think it's under construction, in an attempt to hide the truth, because that is deemed infection. Any weakness, that's the crazy part about living under a society, or living under my life, especially where reality is based on a fraud lord's logic. So then reality doesn't make sense to me. My body does not make any sense. And they're trying to teach me and train me to think like the replacement body. They call me crazy when I think like my real body. When I try to act, like use my name, call me crazy because I'm a slave. And somebody else is using my name. And then, and so when I try to act, have any kind of pride, or my heart beat, or blood pulsing, or brain, or anything, they figure out ways. And I'm talking, the thing about it is, the mob plays sides all the time. And they will always play sides against me if they can find a pocket to pick. That's what goes on. So they will that's what my life. I've never been allowed to grow up. I'm still real small, vulnerable, public access, Wayne's World. No fences, guard. Yeah, literally, land grab Sooners. And I am not allowed to grow up to protect. I'm not allowed to protect myself, and so the infection has spread like the anthrax song. It really has. So the infection has gotten to the point where I cannot control it at all. It's horrific. Like, so everything I've ever done, and we're not talking about bad things here. We're talking about I pay for having friends. It goes back to they want me to just basically stand there alone by myself. Who? I think it goes back to vanity, revenge for my name, both. And certain things. And so anything I do, they charge me something. And that is empathetic to a lot of, and they try to make me empathetic. empathy is a huge EM pathetic. There's EM, ExxonMobil, and pathetic. Was my sister's initial EM until they got changed to EC in the humble oil takeover. So, yeah, free. They got a big chunk over, literally free. So, I was going somewhere there. My body, yes. Interpreting, living under a fraud lord's logic. Very, very strange. Because it's basically, all he's concerned about is he's riding. He's the wrangler. That's all it is. He's happy, he's not greedy. Because he's giving away billions of dollars of my family's money based upon these rigged money laundering schemes because of debt slavery. And that's why the mob will not allow me to grow up to be able to be independent, as empathetic to all the dependent out there. The whole reversal of fortune logic, though, well, if you think about it like this, macro, micro, man, M-A-M-I, 1x equals 1,000. Macro being man, lords and commons. This is math, science, exponents. So what happened, what they did was using this Trojan horse of the brothers, or it goes back to, they turned me into copies. So that 1 then turns into 1,000, and even more than that. So the 1 becomes, it's 1,000x equals 1,000 squared, which comes down to 1,000 equals 1,000,000. 1,000x equals 1,000,000. So then you've got 1,000, it's like a crystal formation. Crystal me, crystal meth. That's what it is. It's real fast, too, because, you've got no limits. You've got swarms, can pretend to be anything, they can, and they've got a lot of power and a lot of money. So that's the logic that is used. Macro, or no, that's micro, because there is no macro. It's Mimi, Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon, pointing it out. And there's also Screaming Mimi's. And the first girl I ever had a date with, well, not really, because I used to go up, it was way back when. But I went to the first, I think, school dance as a date with a girl named Mimi. Don't know what happened to her. Nice girl. We didn't really get along or anything. It was just one of those things. So, coincidence there. So yeah, there's Screaming Mimi's pizza here. The micro, that's when you put the 1,000x because of this one loophole. Copies of me, pieces of me, fractals, breaking down me. And it's this loophole. There's several different loopholes, ways to split me into pieces. 178, broken down. Yeah, they've got all sorts of copies. Yeah. Living in a fraud lord's dome logic, it takes real getting used to. Especially, well, you just don't think right. Especially when the logic is stuck in this two-dimensional. And I'm trying to expand the perimeter of logic to three-dimensional because there's so many loopholes of manipulation. That's why they're fighting to keep 2D logic happening. 3D logic exposes a lot of the loopholes. That's a whole nother, if you look at something in 2D and 3D, it's like animation and live action. It's a big difference. It adds a whole lot of depth perception. And and so it's totally changing. So they're fighting that because they have there's a lot of loopholes that you can figure ways into. So that's why they hijacked Armageddon. Rising Sun, dawning of the age, at a vital time when the world was coming to connectivity for that reason. Rope to hang myself, collect chips. Oh yeah, most of my life, we were raised dumb, well, oblivious, uncertain, in a wild time, totally different time. Mismanagement and gross negligence, totally. If you're talking about somebody that's even worth millions of dollars, that's gross management. We're talking about billions that were, and that is why you got the casino, because they bet. That was just, they could have easily. It's funny to watch these. Yeah, it would have been easy to fix me because I never had any boundaries. But I also think I don't blame them as much as I blame the people who stopped me from growing up. Because if I would have grown up normally, it would have never mattered. Because I would have been too. That's why when they kept me, they shrunk me down as small as humanly possible. I mean, I'm below everything because the mob keeps playing these angles and nobody does anything about it. If I could grow up, it would be invalidated in a heartbeat, but I can't. I've never eaten. That's a joke about the Breakfast Club at South by Southwest. I have never eaten anything of substance. For my replacement body, I'm fed crumbs, little bit. I am a giant, but the body I was given is really, really, really small and pathetic and weak. And so I eat crumbs, which eating a crumb in my actual body as a giant, that's why I get fought. They fight me. No, don't think, you lost that body, We stole that body fair and square by sabotaging you and hunting you and stalking you and collecting chips and hacking you and drilling into you and sabotage, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I've eaten crumbs barely. But in actuality, my big body would take some serious value in order for me. I'm paralyzed. I'm in a coma from hunger and dehydration and everything. Like every sip I go, nothing happens. It's hollow. I'm a ghost. Gray ghost. Everybody's all-American rejects from Stillwater, Oklahoma. The band from almost famous Stillwater from Flint, Michigan, Semi-Tropics, where the Will Ferrell thing. So yeah, Stillwater, almost famous. Funny part. I mean, that's a gospel. There really is. That is a gospel piece. There are certain pieces that the mob, because a lot of my credibility is derived from patterns of coincidence, which I was not allowed. If I had grown up, I could have manufactured the coincidental patterns into fact really easily. But I was not able to grow up because I can't afford to. If I had a team of lawyers and financial people and could package this properly, all of my evidence would look really, really, really legit. And I even came up with several strong plans that are philanthropic. I wanted to start a Louisiana Cultural and Heritage Foundation that has a Louisiana investment exchange. So it would basically be taking some of the money in the state and having a central body that would be like a clearinghouse, that would handle. And then if any business owners had good ideas, they could come to the state rather than having to go. It would be a lot easier. It would be like a venture capitalist, a group of venture capitalists. And then I could also, and so from the venture capitalists, you could stimulate economic. What Louisiana needs is economic diversification, industrial diversification. They're very heavily reliant on energy and chemical right now. And then you got some Hollywood in there, but I don't think that's long term. I mean, it's great, if you build the foundations along with it. Hopefully they are. I'm not privy to that information because I'm stuck here wasting the prime time Red Buffet life dealing with Colonel Sanders because they want to they wanted to poison the state as much. See, they realize there's a big difference between the bears and the bulls. So the bulls have hijacked the bears, and so they want to poison the bear homeland in order to have as much. See, when you use communal bodies, the swarm, the mob, the herd, they rely on shares. It's like corporations or big unions, shares. Regardless of the diversity of the ownership percentages, still a corporation. Whereas if you have like lords and things like that in the state, so if Louisiana would have developed properly, you would have had you would have had different sectors of the state would have been ruled by different families, strong families. It would have developed strong families in these states. And then they would have controlled certain sectors, and it would have been broken down like Britain, aristocracy, different levels of aristocracy. But Louisiana got sabotaged by the cow mob, bulls. And so the corporations are great. Yeah, I mean, the problem is corporations, there are no checks and balances to corporations. Even the U.S. government is trying to control them, but the U.S. government's got some real issues with its money supply and its debt limits and a lot of different things. And the ideological diversity is dangerous as far as controlling the long term. So, yeah, you got. They wanted to implant. They wanted to. It's like when they use me as I'm actually a eating weapon now, and so rather than like when I eat a steak or something like that, it's like one of these local businesses because there's no. It's really bizarre. Rather than one of the corporations are safe, they're too big to fail. That sort of thing. And I have no problem with corporations. There is a definite balance, and right now the balance is way, way over, and it needs to come back to normal. That's the problem. I mean, there will always be corporations, big companies. I'm not. The problem is you got to balance it to a degree, and they went overboard based upon this double dipping, the micro perspective, and so it's got to balance out. And they do not. They're fighting. They want as much. They're greedy, and they're just they're attacking as much as possible. And they want it's horrific. The damage is terrible. And they want to inflict it globally, which I am not necessarily in favor of because there needs to be stronger. Tonight's sponsor is volcanic clay, pure life soap, made in Lake Mary, Florida. This could actually be why the British. I don't blame BP for the spill. I honestly think it was sabotage. I will always. I mean, it sounds paranoid. Hey, you're paranoid. I will always think it was sabotage. Too circumstantial. They wanted one of those jinx things because Katrina happened. If Katrina wouldn't happen, it might not have happened. But they knew they could shut Louisiana up, and they needed to because they were going to screw them bad, and they were going to screw me. They wanted nobody to lift a finger, and they wanted to have some extortion leverage. So this volcanic clay, they're trying. What they want to do is they're desperate to keep this buried. They've got to keep this because the logic loopholes. They invested so much in two-dimensional logic. They're terrified of 3D. 3D logic invalidates a lot of the value structure. Like evolution, which they're fighting vehemently, as far as an evolution of the system itself. You've got to add some depth. Instead, the result of not evolving is massive predatory, it's exponentially getting worse and worse and worse. And the United States is out of control as far as there's no one in control, and it's ruining the world. So they're fighting to save these loopholes, and they'll say these loopholes is literally ruining the world because there is a vital necessity correction that is needed. I've been trying to call for this correction for a long time. They do not want it. There's a control. They ought to be prepared enough. I even gave them out to be prepared. I gave them lots of different options. I always come up with options and things like that. Nobody tends to listen to me because I'm always alone. Everybody, that's the joke part about it. I was alone my entire, so many years. When I was in Aspen, I came up with the plan of the principalities and privatizing the area, putting a small military force as far as being an international global banking center to balance. Then take some of the money out of New York, put some there, and then it could bounce around to 10 or 20 different banking principalities. The problem is that's competition. They hate competition. Same thing with Louisiana. That's why Louisiana got sabotaged. Louisiana could easily be a monster state right now. If it was balanced against Texas, it would have grown, but instead it's a Smurf paradise. Sportsman paradise. Individual, they're drunk, extreme drunk. The hangover in Louisiana is going to be there. They might even be dead. They cannot even process the hangover. Well, that's the thing. When you use faulty logic for so long, you lose the ability to think rationally. So the faulty logic has been skewering things so bad, so long, that they can't even conceive of what is that I'm trying to explain. I mean, when you get shrunk down, and the same thing with this is what happened to my family also. My family cannot even conceive or cannot even understand, comprehend. They think what I'm talking about because I talk from a much bigger level. Because I taught myself, I figured out on my own. I read my genetic propensities of who I really was rather than who they hacked me down to be real small. And they're fighting me because I actually read my genetic, and my body was stolen. They want to keep finders keepers, slave. Beat me to, they are addicted to me as a slave. So the same thing. They had brain damage. It's like brain damage. They drank so much. Pride. Bourbon's pride. If you have a lot of pride, you are a bourbon drunk. And depending on who you are as to how your body and your brain processes. The communal hive brain processing it and the individual processing it is totally different. That's one of the reasons they're so addicted to the system. It's because they're able to mass quantities of pride based upon the communal hive buzz that you get. But it's heavy duty bourbon pride. It's not even bourbon. It's like pure grain. I mean, if you look at the levels of pride are astronomical. So yeah, because of this individual pride, they missed out. Louisiana could be a powerhouse empire, but instead you had a bunch of this better than Ezra syndrome. Ezra Cornell, you make bourbon from corn, sour mash. So Louisiana never grew up. Not to mention, because I was a slave, Louisiana was also they were given the hangovers like me. I don't drink much. I can't afford to. I'm dead broke. I got like $40 to my name. I'm a slave hostage. But anybody that's connected into me drinks a lot. And they figured out a way to filter it. There are filters going on. I call it the agony and ecstasy. It's where you take a drink. So somebody gets really drunk, or an alcoholic drinks every day, every night. And they figured a way to where they don't have any damage for it. Because alcohol is very damaging, especially at the amplified toxic levels to these individuals who are, like I said, my body, I went from being a giant to a very, very, very small. So there's a lot of other people that went from being very small to being yay big or yay big, depending on what level. So, but the reality of it is, if their real bodies adjusted for the amount of pride bourbon that they were drinking, it would kill them probably. Literally, if they had to pay it's like having to pay your bills, you know, if you're spending on and you've got a certain credit limit of, let's say, $10,000, and you're spending $100,000. You know, that's the same metaphor for the amount of alcohol. So they have to use me. That's where my giant body goes, to process drunks, and literally. So I get the worst hangovers, and brain damage. Alcohol creates damage. Not to mention I'm the Marlboro man. These are all part of the sin charge cards. And I lube the hoochies too. get into that in a little while. Disgruntled. I'm always disgruntled. If you knew what I lost, you'd be disgruntled too. So yeah, the damages go to my estate. So Louisiana is actually paying a lot of the damages, whereas Texas is not. Texas has grown massive during the time when I have been a slave to a Texas doctor. Me and my sister are slaves to a Texas doctor, literally. They don't, I mean, it's hidden. The mob knows about it. The mob plays it. But because of that, Louisiana, who is oblivious, doesn't believe, or they won't react, for some reason, they will not allow me to buy myself out of slavery. They're trying to play it. The problem is they don't hold any, everybody knows they don't hold any cards because they never grew up. So the only way they can play it is to let us grow up. But then they'd have to sacrifice, pay some of their bills, and they've got this tight solidarity going on where they don't want to sacrifice or pay anything, so they're trying to extortion and, all sorts of leverage plays, but it's just perpetuation. So because we were slaves to a Texas doctor, Louisiana never grew up. Louisiana is a bunch of chemical plants. Oil refineries, gasoline, liquefied natural gas, methane, all these sorts of ethane crackers, there's all sorts of chemical plants. And that's all it is. But that's not necessarily a brilliant, great strategy. I wanted to diversify the economic base. That's where it comes into my plan for economic diversification. But they want Louisiana to be reliant slaves, as empathetic to the level, to the slavery. Because they are addicted to the slavery of me and my bodily estate, being Louisiana, and some globally. I don't know what the global part's all speculation. I know it has some effect, but I don't know to what degree. So they want me, they're addicted to me being a slave. And so they fight to keep me a slave. And so they, so yeah, I am on, they should have bought me out of slavery and helped me build things up. But instead, they tried to play it worse. That's why I was forced illegal. Red Fox and Hound, being John Malkovich, manhunt. So that lowers me way down. That's why I am one of the lowest. In the communal body of things, they've taken what could have been a Aston Martin factory or a Rolls-Royce factory or even a Gulfstream jet factory or something like that. Trinity Yachts is right there near the Beau Rivage. And they gave me a pair of used smelly shoes. That's the kind of deal I got. Because I'm not smart enough to get out of slavery because I got blacklisted and alienated. I don't know what. Can't do anything about it. So, it's amazing. It just, I had horrific, the only reason I ever figured any of this out, and this is all speculative theories, could be a real good, so it's worth at least a few $1 million with competent hands, or it could be worth a lot of $1 million. This is a really, really, really good story, and I know stories, not to mention my other project. This project is real. This Louisiana Cultural and Heritage. I put it in Craigslist. My plan was, and then I wanted to accompany it with the Guild Hall, which I think is a great concept that they do not seem to want to work with me. They seem to be stonewalling me for some odd reason. But yeah, I told the guys there, I was like, man, the best thing about this place, in my opinion, as a business person, and me looking at it from the macro perspective, because it would be, if I wanted to put one of these locations near Tulane and one near LSU, and immediately you bring in, what it's going to do is, especially the business incubator part, I wanted to have an entrepreneur club, but it got vetoed, even though it should be one of the most important clubs there. So you would bring in a class of people with an entrepreneurial spirit. And then, of course, the good ideas are going to filter through. Because, hopefully you've got some Tulane loyal smart schools. LSU's got some smart people. people there. And I'm using this as my own example because it's my body of work or my estate. And I need to develop mend some fences and build some bridges and build some muscle. People don't want me to. People want me out of the way so they can pillage the place. Right now, there's nobody there. Everybody, you can walk in and take what you want. Literally, it's being pillaged left and right. They're not smart enough to know it because they can't. They've been brain damaged so bad that they can't even think that way because of the extreme toxicity. I think it's revenge because Louisiana was always the party state with Mardi Gras, and you were surrounded by the Bible Belt, so it was probably revenge. And Louisiana wasn't smart enough to grow up, not to mention that their global muscle has gotten a ton weaker. So the only way to remedy the situation, to save them, is for them to grow up. So you put one of these guild walls and you link in. Tie it to my investment exchange. So what the investment exchange is going to be a group of people that are interested in venture capitalists, people that have made money in the area that are real supporters of the state. So there's a lot of oil money in Louisiana, and there's a lot of money there. So you get a group of these wealthy people that are interested in growing the state stronger. So then you have this pool of capital that's available. And, venture capitalists are all different terms. And so what they'll do is become partners to these companies. So then when a good company, it grows from this incubator, this entrepreneurial club, and then and then it could turn into a real major company, especially in the modern economic sense with technological connectivity. I mean, it could turn into a really big thing. And so not only do you have the game side of it, which is great, it's great. That's one of the big parts, the membership, the games and all that. But if you launch a couple of companies out of here that generate 5, 10, and I don't know how you expect if you'd have any sort of percentages, or that's something I'd let the lawyers handle. That's my idea. The game part about it, great. I'd like to put a skate park on it, all sorts of things. You could put shows there. You could launch artists. You could literally launch celebrities. If you could launch a celebrity, say, hey, this celebrity was launched from this location. Magic. Great credibility. Or this company. This company was started at this location. Tons of historic credibility. That is an intangible value that cannot be measured. That regardless of the P&Ls and the profits, that's my idea. So tie it into my cultural heritage. So that's just two major growth sectors of the state. Two of the major universities of the state, LSU, Tulane, and Loyola, which I desperately need a strong presence in because I got run out of town, I got shot, repeatedly attacked, I got mugged, I got jacked, and then thrown out of there, and so the place can be looted. And sure, they've got some development going on, and I'm sure it was planned that way. They wanted me to. It was the fallible, infallible. They stole my body. They got my infallible blood tied into St. Louis Cathedral, and so they made me fall. Because the body I have, I matter least. So I always lose. I'm the biggest loser. Beau Rivage always loses, pays out every time. That sort of scenario. Because in this rank scheme where the system and the games control everything, my rank has been hacked down for being. So instead of me having one of the strongest immunity systems possible because of the hacks, I'm sick boy. I catch everything. And it's permanent marks as a revenge. They want me to hate myself. So this is all revenge of who I am. They want me. It's the mob's interpretation is empathetic to hate myself in order to inflict damage to handicap. And that's been the name of the game, handicap. Prime time, Colonel Sanders, rip buffet on me. Revenge forgives. Addicted to the game. It's reverent for public stalkers. Yeah. Collected chips. Nobody that I would never grow up. I think it was, everybody's all-American or whatever. They thought this guy has too much potential. They thought I could take it, but they kept beating me and attacking me, and I had zero health. And then I made a few pretty bad mistakes as far as I didn't realize at the time that my body, what they did was they invalidated my body to where I was completely reliant upon voodoo possession or magic, because I think it was revenge. And so, because my body was I was a ghost, and then I ended up losing a lot of my possessions so that all my power was gone, and I was just, I lost everything, and my body was completely invalidated. And then they attacked me and made it worse because they realized this. And the people that hacked me, it's like, well, we're just going to shoot you. Go out there, and we're not going to, that's it. Basically, they shot me or stabbed me or whatever, threw me out there as a very well-known, probably one of the most known commodities in the entire state or region. Literally. I mean, if you look at all, that's where Duck Soup Dynasty comes from. They knew who I was since Duck Soup. And so they were hunting me and it got more and more vicious. That's where the whole Omega hack. I mean, everything. Rather than me being magnetic for good, I was magnetic for evil. So I started getting attacked, and my immunity system was stolen, so the infectious stuff. And then they got nervous, and so they just kept on and on and on and on and on and on. They didn't want to pay anything, and so nothing I can do about it except sit here and take it. I mean, I literally can't leave. I would leave right now. I would, if I, all my life, I had a car, I had options, things like that. Then all of a sudden, boom, chopped my legs off. That was the sugar bowl. I was paying for all the sugar that was being taken. Not only paying for the sweet, I paid for the hangover. The good and the bad. I paid for the good and I paid for the bad. That's a double, win-win situation on lose. So the theory of developed pair-state trade. Okay. So the state develops a more diversified base. And those were just my, I'd like to put one in Ruston, where Louisiana Tech is, one in Shreveport, around all the universities. The university system was poorly run. Louisiana was very poorly run because they did not have the mental capacity. Because they needed to develop globally. They never did. They needed to develop global bridges and global trade. And they have the port, but there are no global companies. They needed international global conglomerates, which never happened. And that's part of their stunted development. So they're sitting ducks right now. There was even a bar called the Sitting Duck on Ferret Street. It was a shot bar. That's all they said, tons of different shots. Sitting Duck on Ferret. Or was that Ringo? Might have been Ringo. No, I think it was Ferret. Anyway. So yeah, that's where you got into Duck Soup with a warning. You're just sitting ducks. And that's why you're a duck dynasty. But they're sitting ducks. They really can't do anything. Except try to pretend to be, but everybody knows that, I'm pointing this out. I know it. Everybody knows. They're going to keep goading them along, They keep dragging them along. Everybody knows they don't have any options. They want me dead. This is vicious. They want to make sure they kill me and my father, in my estimation. So that's the only reason they've been dragging this out so long. Or they want me to make me so weak and pathetic that I lose all my muscle. The only way they will, I don't know. That's just my interpretation. So sabotaging my power, destroying the global balance. Yeah, but my power is totally sabotaged. Part of that. Party bribe to bury me for no offenses looting. So yeah, they are indebted to the party system. See, there needs to be another level of leadership. My cultural and heritage foundation would hopefully be, it's more economics, but it would have some muscle there, hopefully, eventually. There would just have to be developed. And the problem is the universities in the USA are run they're technical colleges, community colleges. They're not higher learning. They're producing mutants. What it is you've got a bunch of, and they're worthless. My estate pays a lot for college degrees, and I get zero return, zero help. You know, they are literally too proud. That's the bourbon. Not only do they get a bourbon degree, the bourbon bowl water boy, literally. So they get this, they get taken from this certain level, and they grow up to be a certain level. And they're infused with pride because they're percentages of it. So you've got this big lasagna, let's say, level, sedimentary levels of ranks, and they're classes and castes and things like that. And they're constantly fighting to try to up and down. And yeah, there's some fluctuation. And it's the bad part about it is they do not pay for it. That's the problem. So when they do not pay for it, the system is rotten. I mean, we're not talking about, we're talking about zero. They pay nothing. And they are totally, so the balance is swung totally to the other side. The Terminators and the Transformers are really strong, whereas the bank, the blood bank is just being massively providing. I mean, imagine you've got a store, and they're trying to justify it like a well. Somebody, all right, there's a big pool of value, and nobody is losing anything, but they have attached value, amplified value is where you're losing. Sure, you're extracting a ton of money value, but it's the elevated amplified value that's really screwing things up. So yeah, so rather than me developing sectors of the state, they wanted me out of the way to trash it. You know, it's cowboy revenge or cow's revenge. They're gonna shit all over the place. So they want. I think it goes back to real permanent marks because you're not going to move out. And they wanted to really implode. They wanted to get rid of all. It's like, so Louisiana's got a bunch of rent-a-cops now. I ain't sure it's got money, but for the most part, the cities are really, really weak. And it probably goes back to town and country revenge, in my estimation. Groucho and Lydia the Tattoo Lady. So Town and Country magazine is an Earth publication. So, of course, Town and Country means strong towns and countries. But with me out of the way, and it's very, very weak town and country. You got a bunch of free range deer and elk that are being hunted. And that's where this is going from. So rather than having strong towns and countries, now you've got the money is going, you've got a bunch of these corporations that come in and just suck all the money dry. So it's like strip money. So that's what this whole prime time Dion Colonel Sanders Young brand. And they had to really screw the state bad. It's revenge for 49er revenge, strip mining, parishes. Yeah, they really hate competition. It's just logic. It's math. Bears in the book. Economics. They just do not. It's a balance sheet, you know. Agriculture and mechanical. They hijack the agriculture with a fraud, and then so it's basically mechanical. Win-win, lose pays. So yeah, they wanted to tarnish it up really bad. So Louisiana will be weak, and the competition, and then their ideology looks so much stronger. And it's true, but eventually it will balance out to a degree because of projects like this. So if my incubator, business with venture capitalists, and then you've got this Louisiana Investment Exchange, I want to partner with the universities and then develop international ties to identify like a list of the best potential industries. I'm sure some of it's going to be technology, some of it's going to be entertainment, some of it's going to be, a lot of it's going to probably be agribusiness, biotechnology, all sorts of things. And then you set up sectors of the state, and I'm just doing this because this could be an example for globally what should happen. If somebody would rise up, I'm not talking about politicians, manage the affairs of the system. There's something totally different. That's why you have agriculture and mechanical. Mechanical is the system. But what happens is you've got mechanical and mechanical, so the system is a totalitarian, and they're fighting to keep, they don't want competition, so they're trying to kill the competition. Same thing, when you've got a fraud lord, the head of a massive estate network, his logic is the opposite, and so then the entire estate is poisoned with the opposite logic. That's what's going on. So you develop certain sectors of the state with different industry groups. And then within those industry groups, you should develop some diversification. Diversification is the key there. So that way, like with oil, I can't remember how many, when oil lost a lot of value, the state of Louisiana lost like 50 or 100,000 jobs during that oil. Seriously. Like 50 to 100,000 jobs, I think it was. That I can't remember the exact number. One of those many facts that I see every day. And I don't have a research team to write a speech for me, or have, I don't have anything. It's just me and the internet. That's it. Waste my time. So yeah, the Louisiana lost 50 to 100,000 jobs, and it'll probably edge back up some. The price will, but if the economy had been more diversified, it wouldn't hurt as much. But they want, because their outsiders are reliant on me as a slave, and then the state as a slave, they want us to be empathetic dogs. And so they've got to inflict it upon us. Affection so bad, stalker hate crime, pretty girl. This is one of the infections. Like, I could be standing in a store, and if a pretty girl comes to the area next to me, and I say something, which I usually do, I will be attacked, or it's this pride mentality. The mob is so obsessed with destroying me. Literally, I pay for everything. I pay for every friend I ever had. I pay for every conversation I ever had. And I pay with time and a wasted life, while my estate and my body are destroyed as payment, and looters are stealing everything. So it's really, really bizarre. Girls are not very bright. I understand. Like, I'm in somewhat of a, I don't know, they've got a gun to my head, and they've pulled the trigger on many occasions. Believe me, they are not afraid to whack me and mug me. I mean, cops, you got all sorts of angles. They are not afraid to attack me at all. It's threat. They've got a gun to my head, and I'm a hostage. They're trying to handicap me for some odd reason. They're psychotic. They want me to Butterfingers. Bart Simpson, Butterfingers, St. Bart's. They want me to fetch for them to prove that they are the master. It's a psychotic hate crime that's been going on my entire life, for Jesus, of course. Or it goes back to, they hate Hugh Hefner for some reason. And my uncle's initials and my grandfather's initials were H.H., like Hugh Hefner. Howard Brothers, when I got. And then also you had you had an H.H. involved with the Humble Oil, Jeff LeBlanc, pop-in thing. So yeah, the Cutlass Green, Ted Hume, Humble Oil, Perma Mark, there was an H.H. So HHs were part of it. Then you got 4H, Bebo, Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive, Skinners. Yeah, St. Bart's was skinned alive. And of course, so that means they're going to skin me and my father alive. I think they skinned my father for Fairways and me for Louis Vuitton. So yeah, I get skinned alive and don't get paid anything except for pain. That's their free religion in my estimation. So yeah, it's really bizarre. My life, I mean, if you look at what I could have had, this goes back to, it hurts for me to know what I could have or should have been really easy in a decent civilized society, if they would have treated me like a normal kid, instead I was literally hunted and stalked. I was purposefully sabotaged. They wanted me to make mistakes because they knew I had a fat, deep wallet. So the more mistakes I made, the more money they could steal. And they like no limit records. My wallet is no limit, they found, and so I will probably never escape because it's a never-ending well. It's perpetual. And so they just keep rehashing, make me pay for everything. So they'll figure out a way to dig into my wallet or something like that. So yeah, and it's really, really, really bizarre. My story is so. I mean, if I could sit down and talk to girls or guys, I haven't never even had a girl over for dinner or going for coffee or anything like that. They kind of have. I'll have like. I talk to a lot of people now because I've gotten desperate now. I was shy most of my life, and nobody was really. Nobody ever talked to me, so I never. I didn't really have a lot of friends or never talked to a lot of people. The ADHD made me shy. So then the older I got more desperate. So once again, worst case scenario, but they got paid big time because they got a prime rib Colonel Sanders buffet. Transferred the power into the communal shares. It's like Mr. Deeds. All it takes is one share to get a voice in the corporation. So yeah, the shares are very, very fair. Problem is, you've got to have some balance in the system because they've gotten a bit out of control. I have no problem with corporations. I think things need to adjust. I'm trying to make necessary corrections. The corporations will understand. They're not crazy. Like a lot of America, they're not. The great good thing about corporations is they are not as crazy as the mob stalkers. Mob stalkers are really, really crazy. Corporations are trying to adjust. The mob stalkers get pissed because the corporations are trying to adjust, so they abuse me for trying to adjust the corporations to logic and rationale. It's kind of crazy, but that's true. So, sabotaging my car. Oh yeah. So it goes back to my story is so compelling, yet I am unable to tell it to anyone. Why I do this stupid waste interview here, Magic Mike XXL, the Fountainhead, because there is a very real possibility I will never escape. Very real. There's a very real possibility I will never leave Savannah again, and I hate Savannah. I want to leave and never come back. But they're going to make me suffer for their sin industry charge card party. Literally, there's a real chance. I mean, I've been just totally, I'm still trying to a degree, and I have certain things I'm trying. I've still got to come up with some, I should be able to come up with a good idea that makes some kind of money. You'd think so, but I have zero money to start from. I'm trying to get some businesses started. I have trouble with the small things. Always have. But I'm stuck in these little small environments. So yeah, unable to talk to people, or because my story is so compelling and interesting, and people tend to run away and never talk to me again. Every person I talk to, even if I get somebody's phone number, that's the joke about it. Butterfingers can't hold on. We're talking about vicious hate crime stalkers. But I'm the illegal here. That's how they get away with a hate crime, is because that's why they forced me illegal. So they could abuse me as a hate crime. Get away with a hate crime. And it's making it worse because the environment is I've been tortured to be furious in order to be, my fury is then used against me. I mean, it's one of the worst hate crimes ever, without a doubt. That's why they're fighting to the death, to keep it buried. That's why they're terrified. That's a very, very real reason why volcanic clay soap. And they'll figure it's always deferred. They're always deflecting, deferring. I know you are, but what I am, what am I? You know, that sort of thing. Use they always use everything against me. Anything I try to do is poison. Anything I eat, poison. Worst case scenario. It's always the omega card. So anything I try to do is used against me. It is always negative. Everything hurts me. I mean, they just want me to stand there and do nothing. It's like I am not allowed to eat spicy foods. You know, spicy foods really, really are terrible, terrible for me. Coffee, you know, anything like that. Terrible, terrible. You know, it's the worst wake up sort of thing. It's never anything good. It's always poison. Even today, I got fine white pepper, ground pepper at the organic spice store in a gallon of milk for my macaroni and cheese. And I'm walking home. You know, I'm J.J. Walker. Slow turtle, easy target there. Carnies and the circus. At the circus, Groucho. So, of course, on my way home, there's a cop right there writing a ticket. Two cop cars, and they're sitting there writing a ticket. Of course, always. It's always got the public. They are, and I don't know if that was random or if there's a conscious conspiracy going on. I have no idea. I mean, I've got things in my window. Obviously, everybody is, but it's always got to be. You know, it's swarmed by the cops. Always swarmed by. You know, everywhere I go. That's hot for me. So they don't want me to be able to eat any spicy foods. I know, Louisiana hot sauce, Tabasco. See, Tabasco, Tabas, bait and switch. Taco. See, with me, this goes back to the reversal of fortune thing. Whereas I should be like my immunity system and my real body is I have one of the strongest immunity systems in the world. I am literally a super but they distribute my immunity system to these ranks, to these frauds who pay nothing for it. So of course they've got to make me. That's where you get into the worst case scenario. It's always, you know, the worst case scenario because they stalked and trapped me, and you know it's absolutely insane. Who knows? If there's a real possibility, I will never, ever leave Savannah again, and it's horrifying. I hate it. I mean, I've got the hots on my bike got stolen, so now it's rather. At least when I had a bike. Oh, I gotta miss the Tybee breeze. Ooh, praise Almighty God of the world! Tybee Island is gone. Praise Jesus. You know, All Saints Episcopal. I rode by every day on the way to some store. Zero friends, nothing. And the entire time I was inside, it was terrible. I did at least have a little bit of money to go sit in a bar by myself, you know, that sort of thing. Trying to get some things accomplished. At least I could drink a little bit there to dilute the pain. Here, it's got to be max pain. So now, summer's approaching. I don't know if I'm going to get out. They're still pissed off. These people are so crazy. They honestly think, I don't know, they are nuts. Out of their head, nuts, crazy, historical, stupid. Because they would not lift a finger. Because they would not. I do not want to play these stupid pissant pauper games anymore. I've wasted most of my life. That's what it was. They've already wasted my life with these pauper games, serving the sacred livestock that I pay for the power, and I've got to be empathetic to their plight of reliance. You know, I can't have any pride at all. I give it all away from Bourbon, Sazerac Brothers, Randy Barton, St. Bart's. Well, Barton's is a brand. Buffalo Trace. Yeah, so no pride at all. It's bizarre. Bizarre. So yeah, I got this hot summer approaching. Oh, when I actually escaped. And it was a lot my fault. I made mistakes, but I guess I got I got stuck into it when I was in Aspen again, totally alienated. Total alienation. You know, always alone, basically. And so so I'm stuck here. Yeah, I mean, I was nothing. Nobody. There was a funny joke. There was a girl named Aspen something, and she was carrying around a skateboard, and that's basically what I was the entire time. I was ridden around by a bunch of townies and locals or something like that, and zero. You know, it was, and the horrible part about my terrible life is it was one of the best parts of my life just because the town was nice. So now they really got pissed. They want to scare. They're always trying to scare me into escaping. You know, that's like they're gonna. I'm their oh, it's because I got a marlin gun for my confirmation. So my life has been reeled in like a marlin. You know, and to hang on their wall in Savannah forever and suffer for their buffet. Literally, that's how fucking crazy these people, these idiots, really are. I mean, they've lost their mind. I mean, literally, they're gonna get eaten, no doubt about it. The Kimmy Schmidt, the mole women, they think they're playing really hard into the military, and they're gonna get eaten, no doubt about it. They're gonna get massacred. The rest of the state of Georgia is gonna. I mean, they're trying to use me as a shield, the jinx curse. Anything that goes bad from them doing the wrong thing, they want to make me pay for it because they are never wrong because they're fucking dopeheads because they suck on my blood. Crazy. So I'm approaching a hot summer. Don't have a bike. At least when I had a bike, Tybee breeze, praise Almighty, all saints, Tybee breeze, woohoo! Yeah. So at least then I'm gonna suffer. Tybee was one of the, I mean, just terrible. They gotta make it worse, you know. So it's gonna be a hot summer here approaching unless I escape somehow. And I'm just tired. I don't want to play these little pissant nickel and dime games anymore. I've got to escape because there's too much there is so much damage been done. I mean, my house it's like when I was gone, Project X has been going on for decades. And I'm trying to get some control back. What they want is they want permanent, this is such a bad hate crime. They want permanent marks because they hate me so bad. They're really crazy. I mean, literally, really crazy. There's even James, they're shouting out, they don't care. That's just more sparkles for their jewels to sell, you know. Woo, fireworks. Yeah, James Bond's got Monica Bellucci, my cousin Monica, and Leah Seydoux, named Madeline because my niece Madeline. That's not enough, you know. They're pointing these out. We don't care. We're above everything. We're that big a dopehead drunks. You know, literally out of their fucking mind, crazy, nuts. Just and they still it's attack. Never, you know, just crazy, out of their fucking mind. Just some of the dumbest people. They got given one of the greatest gifts ever, and they just did nothing. Sat back and laid in the hammock there and sat back until they got dead. Years wasted. Nothing. I mean, I'm losing. There's a very good chance I will die because they would not feed me anything. They wanted me to go out and hunt hard, you know. I mean, these fucking retards did not live to figure. They're so much out of my league, St. Vincent Saints. So JB, me, Jean, you know, that's just absolutely insane, stupid. And I mean, it's just I mean, and I am paying for this. That's the crazy part about it, you know. Yeah, absolutely.